So welcome back, YouTube. We are now 12 weeks post fat loss phase and we've been doing the rebound. In this rebound phase, I did 12 weeks of TRT dose, a true TRT dose, which wasn't a cruise dose. So the difference between TRT and a cruise dose is TRT is you stay within the optimal parameters of the hormones are deemed to be, and then a cruise dose would be a super physiological dose. I actually stayed in the realms of TRT as the blood work confirmed, and then I just did a small amount of human growth hormone. So my current stats are, I'm 116 kilos, which is 10 kilos up from my fat loss or the end of my fat loss phase. In those 12 weeks, I've put on 10 kilos of not exactly, I wouldn't say muscle, but weight, and I've kept my body composition in a very tidy spot. So to give you an overview, in these past 12 weeks, I've slowly bumped up my calories. At the start, if you go and check my previous YouTubes, you can see how aggressive I had to get with calories. My weight was actually dropping down for a good few weeks, so I had to get quite aggressive with the calories, and now I've got to a point where I can maintain just over 5,500 calories to a point where it's maintaining my body weight into a good spot. In that, we also slowly moved up the volume in the training sessions. From the very start, I didn't go straight to failure just to keep my joints in a healthy spot. And now I'm training full intensity and I'm fully back to the hardcore workouts that I did previously before the fat loss phase. So cardio and activity has stayed consistent throughout. My steps are at 10,000 daily and my cardio is 30 minutes steady state first thing in the morning. I like to keep my heart rate around about 120 to 130 beats per minute when I'm doing cardio. I don't like the super intense cardio, A, because it's going to tax energy away from the workout later on, and B, I find that the steady state actually burns better body fat and is more consistent. So I did experiment with a couple of peptides during this phase. I experimented with SLU PP332, methylene blue and MOTS-C, which I'll get into a little bit later on. The reason being, I wanted to try a different approach when it comes to the cycle and the drugs. And this is something I'm also going to be documenting in later YouTube episodes. So that's just a quick overview of what I've done the last 12 weeks in regards to cardio, nutrition, and enhancements. If you guys want more in-depth details about how I did that, then check out some of the previous episodes. So moving forward, I'm going to explain to you guys what I'm going to be doing when it comes to mostly drugs, because that's what everyone wants to hear about. So we're going to talk about anabolic steroids, peptides, and other accessories. Okay. So to start off, compound selection. So the compounds I'm going to choose for the cycle is going to be testosterone and equipoise. Testosterone is the backbone of any cycle, and you always want to run that as a baseline. Then equipoise is my second choice. I could have chosen Primobolan or Mastron. A lot of people are going to be wondering why I'm not using them, and it's not down to the availability. I actually have access to Primobolan and Mastron at the minute, but I'm just choosing equipoise because I have great experience of that and a lot more previous data. With Primobolan, the problem I have with it, although it's a very safe compound and you have minimal side effects, I don't like the fact it completely crushes my E2. And that becomes an issue for me because my joints really start to feel it, and I want to keep my estrogen in a really good spot to help with the conversion from the growth hormone to IGF-1. The other problem with Primobolan is that it's an absolute ball ache to administer, inject. Okay, it's 100 milligrams per shot. For me to build up my dosages, I'm going to want to be doing about 800 to 1,000 milligrams. So that's about 8 to 10 shots a week. Can cause a bit of a nightmare when it comes to scar tissue and post-injection pain. So that's the reason I'm not opting for Primo. The reason why I'm not opting for Mastron is because although again, I do like Mastron, I do have to push the dosages up around about 1,000 milligrams. So very similar to Primo. It doesn't have the same negative effect on E2 as Primobolan has, but Mastron also comes with its long list of problems. For me, when the dosage gets quite high with Mastron, I tend to get really dry, flaky skin. And if you're going for a cosmetic look, as we are as bodybuilders, then you don't want your downfall to be your skin. Okay, skin is very, very important. There's no point having an incredible physique, having crazy detail, a lot of muscle, if your skin looks like a mess and it looks like a chemical experiment, essentially. Okay, so I don't like the fact that Mastron does that. And what I don't like about Masteron as well, I notice when I do push up the dose of Masteron, I don't get like a nice round full look that I get on EQ. I tend to look quite flat, even though I'm getting bigger and heavier. So it's kind of like a weird scenario, but anyone who's run Masteron will kind of know what I'm talking about. You don't get that big round look. That is why I'm choosing Equipoise. Equipoise comes with its long list of problems to some people, but not to everyone. The main one that everyone's worried about Equipoise is the high red blood cell count. Now, in my opinion, I haven't really suffered too much with the high red blood cells. What I do suffer with is actually just extreme hunger. In this phase, obviously I'm going to go into a gaining phase. It's going to be something that's going to be more welcomed than actually like a negative effect as it would be in prep. And I notice once I keep my fluid intake high, along with electrolytes, I don't get the issues with red blood cells. And if I do, it's not by much. And obviously I have a clinic on the side of my house, so I can bloodlet at any time. That will be the compound selection, which is testosterone and equipoise. Dosages, I'm starting at 500 milligrams of each per week. I could start at 200-300 and slowly work my way up, but I'm going to be honest, this is going to be realistic. I am an IFBB pro who's been taking anabolics for about probably 12 years now. So you have to be realistic with dosages, okay? I've had previous exposure, high dosage exposure. So if I jumped up to 200 milligrams of each, I'm probably not going to see much of a change in the next couple of weeks, okay? So I actually want to go to a point that's realistic and something I'm actually going to get results from. So 500 test, 500 EQ, probably around about 4 weeks time, I may drop I probably won't drop the EQ, I'll probably up the test because the equipoise will slowly start to suppress my E2. And obviously I want to keep that in a good spot. So I'll get my blood work checked and then probably testosterone will start to creep up to maybe 600 to 700 milligrams per week. In with that, we've got growth hormone. I've been running 5 IUs of growth hormone throughout my TRT phase, which is slightly over a therapeutic dose. Growth hormone will be going up to 8 IUs per day. And I'll be taking that as one big bolus shot before bed. Now, there's a bit of misconception with growth hormone. The problem is people think like it's probably because the name growth hormone sounds super strong and powerful. If I'm honest, it's not. My brother's done a whole degree on growth hormone when he studied biomedical science, okay? So the reason why growth hormone's nowhere near as strong as what people think is because it essentially is just a peptide with 191 amino acids. And the good thing about growth hormone is bioidentical to what our body naturally produces. So growth hormone and testosterone, our body produces naturally. So I don't have an issue of slightly bumping up the dosage of growth hormone because I've not seen any negative side effect. Keep an eye on my blood sugars. So if that gets out of control at any point, I know I can mitigate some of the damage. Peptides. So as I mentioned previously, I'm using a couple of peptides. I'm using SLU PP332. This is a estrogen-related receptor agonist, and it mimics exercise in the body. So essentially, when you take this, the body thinks it's doing exercise, even at rest, okay? So that really helps the metabolic function. Then we have methylene blue, which is a synthetic compound. This is originally designed to help the hemoglobin carry oxygen from a certain disease. But the reason why I'm taking it is because it actually really helps to protect the cells from oxidative stress and damage, okay? So this all comes in conjunction with the mitochondria stack that I was talking about. Then thirdly, we have MOTC. So MOTC helps regulate mitochondria function and is very good at making the mitochondria run more efficiently, and it also helps the AMPK, the whole process of that when it comes to producing energy. So these 3 compounds together, which I've already been previously using, is acting as essentially, I would call it more of a fat blocker because I'm not in a deficit at the minute, so I'm not trying to lose body fat. I'm just trying to hold off body fat while I grow. And again, that's the whole goal of this next cycle, is to grow as much possible and to stay in the best condition I possibly can. Which brings us to the hot topic of the minute, which is Retatrutide. So I will be experimenting with Retatrutide. Originally, I was very closed-minded about this. I didn't really pay much attention to it because we had the GLP-1s when they first come out. You had semaglutide, then we had Mounjaro come out, and I just seen it, for a lot of people were just using it as a crutch to essentially just have a poor diet and drop weight and not change their eating habits. So I kind of dismissed it. I didn't really like the idea of it, and I just thought it's for lazy people. Now, with Retatrutide, now I'm starting to come around to the idea of it. I've seen a lot of people come into the clinic who have improved blood work from it, improved blood sugars, they've improved kidney function, improved liver function, and their cholesterol is in a much better place, okay? So just from the health benefits alone, it seems to be a very beneficial product. Again, we don't really know what the damages are going to potentially be down the line because it's not been around long enough. But from what I can see so far, it's pretty damn impressive. Now, Retatrutide is a triple agonist. It works on GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon, okay? So this is going to help you. It will reduce hunger a little bit, which that's not the reason I'm taking it, but it's also going to help keep your blood sugar levels in a good spot. It's going to help hold off body fat, and it's also going to have some neuroprotective benefits in there as well. So it's almost like a health peptide, I would call it, rather than a weight loss peptide. I think that's where people get a bit confused with it. So I'll be starting off with Retatrutide, and that will be 1 milligram I'll start with, and I'll slowly taper up the dose. Now, I've seen a few things with Retatrutide. People kind of dosing it a little bit different. Some people are microdosing it. Some people are doing one big bolus dose. I'm going to do the one big bolus dose because from what I've seen from the people that microdose it, they don't get the same effects, okay? It seems to be the receptors get hit better when you do one big bolus dose and then, then top it up once a week, okay? Testosterone growth hormone, yes, microdose it makes more sense. You would think it makes more sense to microdose Retatrutide, but at the end of the day, you're not going to outsmart the pharmacologists and the pharmacy companies that make these drugs, okay? They're the ones who knows works better. So although it's not made through clinical trials yet, the big bolus dose seems to be the way they're going about it. So to round it all up, I'm going to go through again what the compounds are. 500 milligrams of testosterone per week, 500 milligrams of equipoise per week, 8 IUs of growth hormone pre-bed in one big bolus dose, 1 milligram of MOTS pre-workout, along with 10 milligrams of methylene blue and 250 micrograms of SLU PP32, which is the mitochondria stack. That's going to work as a pre-workout. Then on top of that, I'm going to take 1 milligram of Retatrutide per week, which is going to potentially go up slowly in dose, but that's just going to be one big bolus dose per week. And then I'll probably jump to probably the effective minimum dose, which is 2 milligrams per week, and then reassess from there. So if you've got any questions about my stack, what compounds I'm using and why I'm using them, just drop them in the comments below. Now we're going to be focused on the training, so we're going to make a training series as that is probably the most fun part for me, okay? So the drugs are now there, working in the background. Nutrition, I'll keep you tabs on that, but we're really going to focus on a good bout of training now, explaining certain movements, certain body parts, and how I approach them.